Thank you. I'm happy to be here. What is this actually, and how can we put it into our own lives to get really great results? I have the amazing Taylor Carr. Thank you so much for having me. But it is beautiful when you can be a woman who's open and loving and still smart and savvy and modern and classic and all these things, because the feminine is the all.
Hello, lovelies. Welcome back to the Modern Muse Diaries. This is the first time I've had my beautiful friend Katherine on, as we've had the new iteration of the podcast. But Katherine Wehler, welcome back.
Oh my God, thank you. The last time I was on your podcast, we weren't friends yet.
That was like flirting.
That was how we connected.
Yeah, and we've had such an interesting journey of friendship since then, from you being like someone that someone connected me with because I was thinking about moving back to the desert, to August 2022. We did I had you on my podcast. Now it's February 2026 and you're about to walk with me in my wedding and stand up there with me.
I know, it's crazy. Insane.
Insane. So for those of you who don't know, Katherine is like the resident astrologer of the Muse world. My clients love her. They love working with her. I work with her consistently and like, yo, what's up with my chart? Why do I feel like this? What's going on? Business, clients, all the things. She helped me identify that many of my clients were Capricorn and Virgo coded. And just, so many amazing things. So I figured, why not have Katherine back and talk a little bit about the 2026 energy? Because we've had some major shifts. And I know February is like the beginning of something so big. So I will pass the mic to you.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello, everybody. It is so nice to be back. This year is insane. It's insane. 2026 is a turning point year, the same way that like 1969 and 2020 were turning point years, right? Where it just completely shakes us on a collective level and asks us to choose a new direction, right? It's like there's the before times and then there's the after times, and 2026 marks that delineation. So I think like the thing to know about 2026 is, one, when I talk about this, I'm really talking about this new paradigm. And when we're talking about the new paradigm, we're talking about increased creativity. We're talking about equity, diversity, inclusion for all people, right? Especially folks who have traditionally not been seen as leaders in our dominant society, or in our patriarchal power structures, being seen as those leaders. So folks from fringe groups like the LGBTQ plus community, BIPOC community, Indigenous folks, right? So women, right? Neurodivergent folks. Those folks really being our way forward as these old power structures crumble. So when we're talking new paradigm, because you'll probably hear us say that word a lot, just know that on the whole, the new paradigm means a place where all people are met and all people are a part of the community and here to contribute their gifts and talents to a greater collective good. Now, when Taylor and I talk about the new paradigm, we're obviously looking at this from our own heaven on earth version of life, which is inherently Venusian because we both have so much freaking Libra in our charts. It's one where love thrives, where relationships are reciprocal, and nourishing and meaningful. And really, 2026 marks this change of moving from this sort of collective energy we've been in the past decade or so of what I like to call the women's healing retreat, where, we were bathing in the fountains naked and we were crying together and we were, talking about our family traumas and healing our mother wounds, our witch wounds, right? All of this. And that was so lovely and so beautiful and so needed. But now we're going from that space and we're entering what I like to call the disco robot rave, right? So it's just a completely different energy, right? Both serve their own purpose. Of course, both have their shadow sides, But what I like about this new paradigm that we're stepping into with 2026 is not only what I talked about before, but also this feeling of it being more fun, of having worked through the trauma, right? For the most part, of course, we'll always be healing, but having done so much healing or having been in such a healing space, now we get to take our new identities and play and create. Bridgerton is out right now while we're recording this. And I think that that's such a beautiful example of exactly what I'm talking about, which is all these artists and creatives coming together to tell a story that they're all passionate about. And it's not like they do it because they think, oh, this is going to change the world when it comes to how people view relationships, right? They're just trying to tell a story. But that's the effect that it has on us, right? It's all these folks contributing their individual gifts, talents, creativity, passion, and turning it into something that impacts all of us collectively in such a beautiful way. So that's what 2026 is. It's more play, it's more curiosity, it's more creativity, it's more desire, and it's just more motion, period.
Hmm. And obviously, I can't not mention the things that are as big and chaotic going on as well. And I know everyone's talking about Fire Horse Year and all of this.
Mhm.
And right before I hit record, I was telling Catherine, like, I am so overstimulated right now because everything that we're consuming is like Epstein files, ICE
Right.
raids, children getting arrested, people being harmed. Everything's gonna work out though, guys. Like it's that energy of like chaos, chaos, chaos. It's gonna be for the better, we swear, but we like it's gonna be fiery. And as much as like, yes, there's an astrological component that I'll let you play with, I can very confidently say that the divine feminine is not happy with how we've been running things, right? And the divine feminine is not soft and submissive housewife who just loves her husband and meets him with her legs open whenever he's home from work and a beer right in the
The
middle
sandwich.
and a sandwich, unless he deserves it, I suppose. But
Yeah.
the divine feminine is really the burning down of what wasn't working and rebuilding in her image. And I really see women playing a heavy role in what's going on right now because it's not just adults being harmed anymore. Children are now more in, I'm not going to say now more involved, they've been involved, but now we have more information. And I can see,
Conscious.
yeah, I can see the divine feminine just being in her rage. Like I'm sobbing and I'm also ready to burn down every single thing I've ever known to rebuild. And I see that in relationships. I see that in politics. I see it in religion. I'm seeing it everywhere.
Yeah. And I think what's so beautiful about this time too is, again, in the wake of all of this destruction, we are being asked to be the leaders that we want to see, right? So even like through all of this fear, through all of this yuckiness, honestly, I mean, it turns both of our stomachs, I know. Um, but it's really like people keep asking me, well, where is the joy or where is the creativity or the creational energy, this life force energy you keep talking about? And I'm like, babe, it's you. Like that's our best resistance, joy, love, community, support. That's our best resistance to all of the darker fear and hate and yuckiness coming out, and even politicians or celebrities or whatever being cast in this new light where you can see clearly these terrible things that have been happening underneath the surface all along. Like, again, it's releasing our idea of who that past leader was and stepping into our own leadership positions from a place that is heart centered and a place that is innately divine feminine.
Hmm. I think it's really inspiring to think back to the last 5, 6 years. Obviously, like female in business online is not new, but the last 5, 6 years, we've had a huge boom in women creating their own ecosystem. And I feel like it's going to get even more interesting and cool from that perspective. Like, I'm seeing more women post, like, it is so sacred when a woman charges for her gifts. I'm seeing more people start to say these things, or like women making money for their magic in the world and not just from what we were told to do is so sacred. And I'm seeing people play with what's like, who is the leader in me that I don't know is there. I'm still sitting with like, What is
Mm,
it about what I bring into the world that is part of this new paradigm? And I keep thinking about, well, I teach women to not move with defensiveness, but to be really brilliant in the way that we do move to get results, because the feminine gifts are not the same as the masculine, right? Like we're so used to like, I'm going to fight, I'm going to be defensive, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to stick it to them. And that doesn't always get us results. Whereas even the way I teach in relationship and dating and the way I'm seeing women starting to do this with men who are clearly not tapped into the things that we know, and they're using their feminine gifts to educate them, like, oh, can you believe that this raid just happened and it was all these liberals and it was the, oh wait, it looks like it was Republicans, but you would protect me, right, babe? And they're using that energy to educate people. And as much as a version of that could seem like dumbing yourself down, I actually think it's feminine brilliance. So
mm.
I'm like looking at all the ways that women will lead differently, and I'm getting really curious and excited.
Yeah, I mean, me too. 100%. I mean, women have always been incredible leaders, like across time in history. And I know we talk about this all the time, but our golden ages in history were when women were leaders. So, even from a Chinese astrology perspective, like we've entered period 9, and that is when it's women and primarily women in their later years also. So again, this essence of people who traditionally have not been seen as the leader, like, and when I talk about traditionally, I mean in recent human history, right? Because again, there's many moments in human history where women have led and it has been very successful and it's been filled with love and beauty and art and community and all the things that we love, right? But I digress. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, with this new paradigm, it really is just this rebalancing of Earth, and this rebalancing of humanity. And again, you cannot have a healthy masculine without a healthy feminine. So, of course, the feminine leads.
Of course, the feminine leads. I love that conversation, particularly like we emotionally lead and the masculine can
Mhm.
physically lead and protect that, but the emotional leader has to come first. So
Yep.
there's a couple things that we get to talk about all the things. I love talking about new paradigm love, and I'd like to tap into that in just a moment. But let's start off with the big transit that just happened. Um,
Mhm.
I'm not going to remember what it's called, but I'm going to let you tell us what it's called and what just happened.
Okay. Well, Neptune just went into Aries. Is that what you're referring to?
Sure is.
Okay, great. So Neptune just went into Aries. And as an Aries person, personally, I'm very excited by this. Um, Neptune is this planet that has to do with dreams and frequency, sometimes illusion. But really, it is this vibrational energy, right? So, again, it's a kind of tone setting planet for the collective. And we've been in Pisces since 2011. And again, each, sign has its shadow aspects and its better aspects. And in Pisces, this was amazing because we expanded in terms of like, the talk of around the divine feminine. Venus is exalted in Pisces. She loves to be there. The divine feminine does really thrive in Pisces. Um, and we also, ventured into more territory in terms of manifestation and spirituality becoming even more mainstream, right? Like I always say, like you can get a crystal anywhere now. You can get a crystal at your grocery store now. So, it's incredible in terms of that conversation, right? We're manifesting, we're doing vision boards, we're, gathering for sound bowl meditations and everything, right? And again, we love that. We love what Neptune and Pisces brought. Now, the shadow side of this was, again, what we're now seeing with Neptune going into Aries and the truth around everything being revealed, right? Which is that it did kind of create this like collective dream, right? So it was lacking of individuality. It was lacking of what is your individual hopes, needs, desires, right? It was kind of what I like to call the sea of sameness. So even with, Neptune and Pisces kind of blurring the lines of what reality is, social media on the rise, everyone kind of looking the same, saying the same things, following the same trends. With Neptune now in Aries, we're going to see such a shift, right? Because Aries is all about the individual. And again, it's Mars ruled, it's inherently about desire, right? It's inherently about motion and movement and action taking. So, Neptune in Pisces was like, oh, if I just dream it, or if I just put it on my vision board, like it comes true. And with Aries, it's really saying like you need to move with intentional action from your desire, right? You are the universe. You're not waiting for something to come save you. You are moving and you are choosing. So it really is this energy of, again, getting in touch with who am I? What is me? What is mine? What is my personal frequency? Right? Like if you are a radio station and you're tuning into yourself, what is that song that's playing on the radio? Right? What are those colors that light you up? Like what are those foods that you enjoy? Right? All of those things that contribute to our own personal expression. And this includes dating, this includes relationships, right? This includes the individuality of what might be great for you is not so great for me, or not so great for Taylor, or not so great for the person down the street, or maybe they're similar but not quite the same, right? So this is where we get to get really curious about what is my dream? Like, what is my personal dream? What is my personal desire? And then we move on that.
It can be really uncomfortable to start to uncover new sides of yourself when you were very sure that you knew yourself very well. And I think part
Mhm.
of the beautiful part of life is that I'm constantly uncovering me because all is self anyway, right? But then there's the clunky parts of like,
Mhm.
I'm so open with my community and I share lots of things because I'm always experiencing new up levels. And part of my astrology reading with you in December was, babe, you're becoming more Aquarius. And I was like, what? Because
Yeah.
that energy is so uncomfortable for me. I have amazing friends who are Aquarius, but I like it's just the one energy that I've never totally understood. So I've been clunky, I've been socially awkward, I've been blinking a lot, I've been feeling different in my
Blinking a
I've
lot.
been blinking a lot. I've been feeling different in my body and the way I show up and interact with people. And then
Right.
for the first time in my life, because I've always been more Leo in nature, I'm like
Mhm.
leaving new friend dates and I'm going, why did I
Yeah.
say that? That was so weird. Like, and
Right.
learning a new side of me. I don't think Aquarius is awkward and weird and all of that. It is leadership. It is pioneering forward, which is perfect for me as the universe designed it. But
Yeah.
permission to anyone who's feeling a little clunky in their new persona or their new outfit that the universe has
Mhm.
put on them. I've always been a
Mhm.
Leo, Libra, Pisces girly, and suddenly you're telling me I'm Aquarius and Aries in my first house,
Aries.
and like,
Yep. Yep.
it's
Taylor's
brand
discovering
new.
all these new sides of herself. It's fascinating as your friend to watch you move through it.
And also learning how that impacts my business in the way that I show up. So I've given myself permission to show up less. I've given myself permission to like let people have less access to me,
Yeah.
so that my leadership is more potent even. Whereas my Libra lover girl was like, I give and I love and I give and I love and I give. And now this like Aquarius Aries version of me who's clunky is like, no, make it more potent, less access, figure out your new outfit, your new skin suit that we're putting on you. And in that, I'm learning new things about me like, do I even actually believe in marriage as I prepare to get married? Right.
Right.
And so, really rewriting these rules of like, great, so what does marriage actually mean to me? What would having kids actually mean to me? What does living here in this house versus somewhere else or travel? What does this mean to me? Because it didn't mean this to me 3 years ago, but now it does.
Right. And I love that. And it's not saying that you like don't at all believe in marriage. It's like it's good to have those questions, right? Because I think that that's really what it is again, we're not in some collective dreamy, foggy space where we're not paying attention. Like now, again, we really get to tune into our own frequencies. So you get to even define what is marriage to me, or why am I entering a marriage beyond just sort of this little girl dream or the societal pressure or whatever it was before. Like I went through that exact same phase living with my grandmother. It was incredible because, every detour actually is the destination, especially for me. And, I spent a good portion of my Saturn return living with my grandmother. And it was fascinating to me because just through living with her and being that close and intimate with her, I started really processing like, why do I want a partner? Why have I always wanted children? Right? Beyond just like, well, that's just what you do, and this is the age that you do it at. But I started really questioning, like, yeah, but I still, like, for me personally, I still do desire those things, but in what context? And with what kind of partner? And, with what kind of stability? And for what reasons? And it's beautiful because I feel like it's really a maturing of the divine feminine, I think that we've kind of been in a little bit more of like this maiden phase of the divine feminine where we're kind of walking around with like our hands over our eyes almost. And we're kind of like, oh, yes, like I'll do this because my mothers and my grandmothers did it and women before me did it. And now we're actually getting to take a pause and say, but why do I want that? Right. And not just in relationships, like you were saying, in your business, right? It's not just, oh, my coach did this and had success in the past, or I saw my best friend do this and she, thrived at it and loved it. But it's really asking like, but what do I love? How do I want to spend my days? What do I want to offer? And again, where are my gifts and talents best used, but also best enjoyed by me?
Hmm. There's so much in there. So let's pivot into the new paradigm of relationship because I think that's part of why these questions are coming up, even for me. Like
Yeah.
lover girl Taylor, who's like, do I even believe in marriage as I get ready to walk down the aisle? And identifying what marriage means to me now as a 35-year-old woman in the world who has my partner, who has my home, and all of these things. I think it's one of the most exciting things that I think I have ever experienced is not just relationship because we do relationships as humans. It's,
Right.
everything about the way we've ever done relationships doesn't work here. And
Yeah.
it gets to be better for women in the future. I had one of my girlfriends messaged me like right as the new year started. She sent me a voice note. She was like, "It's the year the goddess is worshipped again. We're bringing back worship." And I've been thinking about this where I'm like, but kind of, right? Like I think
Yeah.
we're no longer in servitude to men and we're watching that sort of collapse all over the place. We're more interested in divine union with men.
Yes, absolutely. I think that partnership and marriage means something entirely different now to so many women, right? Than it ever did before because we don't have to be in it. We really get to choose it. And so it's a completely different frequency when it's something that is for survival, right? And is for that, like, have to, like, even our mother's generation, there was still that societal pressure and expectation that by a certain age, like, you are married. You watch a movie like When Harry Met Sally, that was the time period that my parents got together. And I think, wow, this is only this many years ago, but it's already so antiquated. This idea that like you're an old maid if you're, not 30 and married kind of deal, right? And even when I talk to my older relatives, it's so fascinating, for me to say most women I know who are getting married are in their like mid to late 30s, even early 40s, and they don't believe me. And I'm like, but that's what's happening for a lot of women for a lot of reasons. But I think the empowering part of that, to what you were saying, is again, it's the choice. We get to choose and we get to question, like, again, why do I want that? And ironically enough, that is actually what attracts those partners, those healthy masculine partners who want to be in that kind of a relationship to the women who are doing that kind of inquiry, right?
This is so true. And I would love to zoom in on that even more because I think a lot of women don't know that discernment isn't just for us to learn how to have. Healthy men are discerning too. Like
Yep.
healthy men are not rocking up in your life and going, "Well, you're hot. I think I'm going to marry you." Like they're going, "Wow, she's really hot. She's really beautiful. Um, I'll get to know her," because also inviting a woman into my life is risky as well. And so we're all feeling this way. It's almost like if you're married before 30 and you're in this generation, we're kind of like, you got married, what? Like, that's now the more shocking thing.
Yeah.
We're aware of the prefrontal cortex, the brain fully developing between 25 and 26. We're aware of Saturn returns now, like that's
Mhm.
more common. So like you were married before your full identity set in, that's now more taboo. But
Yeah.
being a person who is open, loving, discerning, and not judging everybody, this is how you call in healthy men into your life. So let's talk about the healthy men of this new paradigm.
I love the healthy men. These are
We
my guys.
we talk about these guys like crazy. There's I don't want to say there's specific placements because that's not fair, but there's certain traits that you see astrologically when we're talking about some really great husband-coded men. What does that look
Mhm.
like in 2026?
Mm, that's a really great question. Well, again, this is very broad, right? Every single individual is going to be so different. Something I see across the board with my clients who are in really healthy, wonderful relationships with, again, just like really healthy, grounded, wonderful men is earth placements. Just like a earth placement.
Just one.
Just one. You could just have one. Yeah. I mean, and again, that's not to say, again, I'm always careful about blanket statements, right? Because there are exceptions to the rule and everything. But, again, Earth is a very grounding force. And when you have Earth in your natal chart in astrology, whether it is your ascendant, descendant, moon, Venus, Mercury, whatever, right? When you have that, just that little bit of Earth, um, it's very grounding, right? It's someone who lives more in the three-dimensional. It's somebody who takes care of themselves and takes care of more practical needs, right? Again, everyone's on a spectrum, so it'll depend on where it is in your own personal chart. But I do see this pattern specifically across the board with like the quote unquote good men, the men who are interested in being in healthy relationships with women. I mean, every single one has had an earth placement. So that's a really fantastic thing to look for. And that being said, with the earth placement thing, Uranus is moving out of Taurus, Pluto has moved out of Capricorn. These men also are going through their own process of questioning things, reckoning with things, healing things. So it is kind of the irony right now that the people who are best suited for having a healthy relationship or even wanting a healthy relationship, right? That being a desire, also are working through their own stuff. So I think that patience is a really big piece of this. Understanding that the person that's sitting across from you is another human and they're going through their own human things. That doesn't mean allowing for bad behavior. That means just understanding that a big dose of humanity is needed. In 2026, with Uranus moving out of Taurus and into Gemini, the Taurus placements will be relieved, right? Again, Pluto has already moved out of Capricorn, but the Capricorn placements are kind of just now starting to kind of settle in and feel a little bit more comfortable. And also in 2026, the South Node will move out of Virgo. And will move into Leo. So, it is a year for, who I like to think of as these like healthy masculine men who want healthy relationships with women, like want to be providers, not just financially, but, emotionally. And they enjoy taking care of people, right? This is a year where they're going through their own major changes as well. So I think just having that patience, listening, talking it out, encouraging them to get into their bodies. So, encouraging them to explore this somatically is huge if they're open to it, if you're dealing with one of these. But yeah, I think just to know that it's a big turning point for them too this year.
If you're dealing with one of these,
Wink.
wing, wing. Me and my almost husband, Virgo sun, Taurus moon, Capricorn, Mars, something.
Yeah.
Mars. Um, yeah. So, okay. So that's a really interesting topic because when I look at it again, like masculine and feminine perspective, I think 2024 and 2025 were really interesting years for the masculine. It was kind of like, it was quite a wake up call to many men, and many men got louder in their fight of wanting to keep things the way that they were. And we see that that rise of that with more of that manosphere content that I talk about from time to time.
Hmm.
2026 feels like the full wake up call for men because now you have all of these injustices towards women, all of this like, oh wow, we really didn't believe women, and look at the atrocities that have been like now they can see it, and they can see it in a more tangible way, and this is the call for the men to come forward. So like I think it's interesting that you say they're really working through some stuff right now, and they're going to come out on the other side more beautiful than
Mhm.
ever. And I believe that. That's why I'm like, relationships are about to get so good, but we're really in the thick of the rockiness of us waking
Yeah.
up and coming into the new paradigm.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, these men are having their own questions about, well, why do I want this beyond I was told that's what you do, right? Or like my buddies around me, like they're married and they're saying, hey, when are you next? And those kinds of questions. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a collective recalibration, right? Like, again, I think we're all in a recalibrating phase, whether you are single or partnered or married or whatever, but all of us are recalibrating right now. And again, especially those placements I mentioned are recalibrating. And again, those tend to be the men that are interested in healthy relationships. And also, too, for the masculine collective as a whole, and even the masculine within all of us, right? That again is that Aries energy. Aries is a very masculine energy in terms of being ruled by Mars and being that first sign of the zodiac and this leader and movement, right? So I think that, yeah, just in general, with Saturn also going into Aries, there's a maturing of the masculine within all of us, right? There's a maturing of even like the sexuality within all of us. So I mean, even the rage, right? Like all of that. And again, I think right, the people listening to this podcast, the people that are interested in having those healthy relationships, like we get to play with it in the way of reawakening our desires. We get to play with it in the way of taking action and moving on what we want to versus kind of letting the internet trolls or like the red pills or whatever take the full spotlight.
Mhm.
So I think that that's really the conversation because again, you and I always talk about this, but like the men who are getting on social media and saying cruel things to women, like those aren't the same types of men that are interested in healthy relationships with women. So, my biggest recommendation with this work of choosing frequency is again, choose your frequency. Like, be boundaried around who you interact with, who you let into your world, even on a social media level, what comments you're reading. It's not turning a blind eye and saying like all men are amazing, right? And safe and wonderful. Like again, it's being boundaried, it's being discerning, it's creating the frequency in the world that you want to see and orienting yourself instead of looking for proof over and over and over again that men suck and they're cheaters, liars, whatever, they're all red pilled, whatever. Like orient yourself towards being curious about the good guys. Like orient yourself towards, again, this really more interesting conversation of how are those men evolving and how are those men leading in the world and, having their own recalibration period.
I just got off of a call with one of my newer clients in the Muse Mastermind, And this round is really interesting because it's all like, for the most part, it's German women, Dutch women, and Canadian
Oh,
women, but
cute.
no American women right now. And I even thought that was really fascinating. But we were talking, and she goes, obviously, I'm calling in partnerships. So a lot of the time when I'm out, my energy is just moving towards what looks like maybe the single man in the room. And we had this
Yeah.
really fun play, like video play with each other, where I was like showing her, I'm like, here's the difference between closed energy. And I showed her what closed energy at the cafe looks like that no one would approach. And then I showed her what, like a more open energy where people could receive, or approach you. And she goes, but that's so crazy. It would take so much confidence. And I said,
Mm.
fascinating that if to you, you perceived me as confident, whereas I perceived myself as present in my life. I just didn't
Mm.
have the phone. I was holding my tea. I was watching the people around. I like gave a little smile to the older gentleman who opened the door for his wife because they're so sweet. But nowhere in my behavior was I laser pointed towards maybe the single man in the room. He didn't have my attention at all. Who had my attention was the people walking by smiling. Hello, nice to see you. This tea's really good. I haven't been here before. This is pretty. Now I'm enjoying my life. I'm not always looking for something. And I think that is the
Yes.
energy. Yeah, that is the
Yes.
energy that those men also are interested in approaching.
Well, and that's the irony, right? Like that's the comedy of it all. Is like the men who you would actually want to be in relationship with are the men who are interested in women who aren't just interested in men,
Correct.
right? So like having your own life, like still being open and still, and again, just being open to all people, right? Because I mean, that's how you just invite in opportunity, period, right? You never know when you're going to make a new best friend or you're going to meet a really cute dog or your barista is going to give you a free coffee just because you were kind, right? And so I think like, yeah, that's such an interesting conversation. And it is interesting too to me how it is perceived as confident, right? Because from my perspective, both of those looked like confidence, right? And so it's that different kind of confidence where I think it's being at ease with yourself. I think it's enjoying your life. If I could call it anything, it would be main character energy. It's like if there is a single guy in the room, like again, look at Bridgerton. Like, even though we didn't like love it, but it is true. It's like if you're in your own little world and you're paying attention to what lights you up and what you're passionate about, that's attractive. That's magnetic. People pay attention, whether they are single men or new friends or dogs. Um, you and I are always greeting dogs.
They're very important.
Energy.
That's
But
very
I mean,
important energy.
it's a more, I think it's just like a more enjoyable way to move through life if you're called to move through life in that way, right? Some people genuinely just want to be at home in the dark with themselves in a book, and that's fine and wonderful. And if that's how they want to spend their lives, like more power to you. But if you are somebody who is interested in connection and you're interested in mutual support and reciprocity and just like having conversations or just being more involved in life, like be the main character of your life, be present to each scene, as it were, and enjoying all the little details like you were talking about and just taking it in.
Yep, look at the chandelier, girls. Look at the
Look at
chandelier.
the chandelier 2026. Even though like I hated his reaction to that, but I loved how Sophie clocked him on that when he pulled that. You're not like other girls shit. And she was like, I'm gonna tell you.
I
But
am like other girls.
I am like other girls. Yeah, she was just like, you're not gonna talk like that about my sisters. But it is true though. I mean, again, just in general, I think the most interesting people are people who are interested in others
Mhm.
and people who are interested in just their life and like going on adventures and something as simple as a coffee shop or a walk around your block can be an adventure. You don't have to travel across the world to do this, but like that is what just inherently makes you a more interesting person and therefore a more interesting and even like open and available partner.
And even for somebody like me who like I have a ring on my finger, it's clear that I'm not available. I still prefer the experience of my life where I'm connecting with others, making them feel good, like
Yeah,
eye contact, tell the barista she has a beautiful smile because I'm sure nobody did today.
right.
Seeing I walked up to this girl at one of my cafes recently and she was sitting there on her computer and she had like her earpods in and she was looking so fierce. And I just stopped at her table. I was like, I'm not being weird, but you look amazing. Amazing. And I just walked away. Like I wasn't trying to be weird, but it's
Uh,
like these are the moments where we don't go out to receive that compliment like that. But when we do, it makes us feel some kind of way, especially from another woman. So being present in your life can be it just is such a better way to live, especially because we've lacked community for so long and we're so ready to be part of something again.
yeah, 100%. And like I said, I mean, just that like that joy of making somebody else's day, giving them a genuine compliment. Like you said, they might not have heard that day. They might be having a hard day. And you can be that bright spot in somebody else's life, you know? Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like a no-brainer. It's like, why wouldn't you live your life that way, right? Taken romantically or not. Because I don't think it's inherently like romantic necessarily in the sense of having a partner. It's romantic in the sense of romanticizing your life and enjoying this lovely one life that you have to live, right? I always like to think of it from the perspective of like older me. So I always think like, if 85-year-old, 90-year-old, 100-year-old me was looking back, like what would she hoped that I did? Like where would she be hoping that I had gone, right? Or the conversation that I had, the dogs that I pet. So I just think like life's just too beautiful. Like, I mean, I'm such a Libra moon, but I think that life's just too beautiful and it's being open, being curious about the world, curious about yourself. That's not inherently centering men. And in fact, like I said, the irony is that the men who you would probably be interested in dating are interested in women who center themselves, you know?
Yes, because they want to be centered around you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Magnetism 2026, it'll change the world. I stand by it.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. And I mean, that's Aries too. Again, when you're doing your own thing, you are that flame that the moth is drawn to, right? It's the ultimate attract, don't chase.
So next week is Valentine's Day. I am going to drop this like just today because why not?
Yeah.
And you have Astro Love Codes, which is something that you offer every so often. And my community absolutely loves it. I couldn't even tell you how many clients at this point is like, I will take that, or are like, I will take that. I want it. I love it. And they love you. Will you tell the Modern Muse Diaries humans, people, women, what Astro Love Codes is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love doing this session. A crush on a boy is how I started doing astrology all the way back when I was 7 years old. So I just have a soft spot in my heart for synastry, which is relationship astrology, or even just personal magnetism astrology. So in the Astro Love Code session, this is a 45-minute session where we look at your unique love code, divine feminine magnetism code, however you want to use it. If you're looking to attract a partner, if you're already with a partner, we can tailor it to all of that. I can look at your charts together if you do have a partner. But basically, we just break down like what is it that makes you so uniquely magnetic, right? Both in general, but specifically within romantic relationships, and the kind of ideal partner or the ways that your current partner can support you in terms of your own growth, but also the ways that you two like pair together, right? And increase each other's magnetism. One thing I love about the Astro Wealth Code is the connection between love and money as well. So, I know your clients, I know my clients, that's always a topic of conversation because they're just, boss babes. And and they're always like, yes, I want the love, but also I want the yacht in Italy or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but what I love about love astrology is it's also inherently wealth astrology as well. So when we're talking about planets like Venus and Jupiter, this is really, again, just about expanding your magnetism period to opportunities, to people, to financial growth. So I'm really passionate about the Astro Love Code. It's a one-to-one with me, 45 minutes. Usually 222, but I'm offering it to your people for 10% off with code MUSE. That's MUSE, all in caps. Yeah, I would love to have them participate. It's a really fascinating season for love, and I think such a and feminine magnetism too. Knowing your divine feminine blueprint, knowing your love blueprint, again, just helps you further specify what is yours, right? And what is your desire, what is aligned for you, what feels good. And I've only ever received really positive feedback from this work that people are like, oh my God, you'll never guess. Like, I did exactly what you said, and I met somebody. Like, I've helped clients meet husbands. Like, we've done a lot in my world because I'm such a lover girly at heart, but a lover girly who, again, is interested in the kind of love that suits you and is tailor-made for you. So yeah, that's why I love doing the session and why I'm so excited to offer it to all of you.
Yeah, so I will drop that link below. The code is Muse to get your discount. Last question for you, my love.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be a modern muse in this world?
Hmm, such a great question. You know, I think these days, when I think about being a muse, it really, again, I talked about that older version of myself, but I'm gonna start crying. Oh my God. I'm like, ew. No, no, but I think about that younger version of myself too. And I think about how I would be the coolest person ever to her. Um, and just this most incredible muse. And so these days, when I think about being a modern muse, I really think about being the woman of my dreams, and that younger self looking up to me, that older self looking back, all three of us being like, we did the damn thing. Right now, like I'll share, I really have become obsessed with wanting to swim with the whales. Like I really, really, really want to swim with the whales in the next like year or two. And so it's like, it's things like that that just make life worth living and just make life so beautiful and romantic and just an adventure every single day. So when I think of myself as the modern muse, or I think about the energy of the modern muse, I really do think it's being your own dream woman and living your own dream life.
So, so true. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm sure we'll see you back on here again very soon.